My name is Jan van. Welcome in the Q&A webinar for Empower Your Project of February 1st, 2018. The agenda of today, I have a case. Someone asked me for a specific case, and I like to use that case to illustrate how to deal with any problem, any issue with projects. And of course, there is Q&A, so if you have questions, please raise them. I will address them at the end of the webinar. Just raise them in the chat. Well, first to start with the case, and this is the situation. Someone asked me how to deal with a situation where the project manager plans a task for, let's say, 1 week, and where the engineers, the specialists, they take 5 weeks or 10 weeks to complete the task. And the reason is, well, actually they spend their task, they spend their time on other activities. They have other things to do, and they just do the task of this particular project manager, well, whenever they have time, and that is not so often, so it takes a lot of time. There's a remark to make. This team is aware, these people are aware of the influence of multitasking, of bad multitasking. They are aware, they know they shouldn't do multitasking, but still they do. So how to deal with this situation? So you have a task as a project manager, it just takes a week, but when people start working, they hardly spend any time on it, and it takes 5 weeks or 10 weeks or something like that. Well, how to deal with such a question? Well, the temptation is to start looking at solutions. Say things like telling the people you shouldn't do multitasking, or you made a commitment that you would work on this task, that you would finish it for a certain date, or that you would spend all your time focus on finishing this task, but you don't. There is a temptation to go this way, but there is a better strategy that works for all projects, because apparently there is a reason why those people do this and why they simply don't focus on completing this task. There are reasons for that, and if you're working in a project organization, then the project organization can do a couple of things. What to do about it? That is the core question, and the temptation is to deal with symptoms, because the case is, as a matter of fact, is just a symptom of an underlying problem. So there is a better strategy, and it is to get started with the basics. Well, the training session, in the previous sessions, we talked about the basic needs for projects. So let's first have a closer look, because over 94%, that is what you know already, over 94% of the problems is caused by someone, well, who didn't have enough time, and by unfulfilled basic needs. So let's first have a closer look at those basic needs. Well, the basic needs for a project to complete successfully is that people need to have time. And in this case, where people take more time to complete the task, you can question that it is a reasonable, well, let's formulate it differently. If people don't have enough time to get their job done, 94% of the problems is caused by this problem, by this cause, then it will take longer to complete tasks. People will start multitasking. So it is likely that those people simply don't have the time to focus on the task and to focus on finishing the task. So we have to do something to make sure that people have enough time. It might be that there is lack of collaboration. If people don't have enough time to get their work done, they also don't have the time to communicate and to collaborate, and it impacts. The collaboration is between the project manager and the employee, or the project manager and the project team member, and it is collaboration in setting up the plan, it's collaboration in setting expectations, it's collaboration in aligning all the work, it's collaboration in overcoming obstacles. Well, if these project members don't have the time, or for other reasons can't collaborate, it is likely that it will take much longer to complete the task. And then you can say of course, that they shouldn't do multitasking, but if there is no collaboration, that doesn't work either. And also collaboration is one of the most frequently heard, lack of collaboration, lack of communication is one of the most frequently heard complaints from people in project organizations. Well, finally, that is what I would like to discuss also today is the plan might not align with the plan that have people in mind. So there is something to do about planning as well. They might have not people, the project members might not have the overview or the clarity on what should be done. Okay, well, there are at 3 levels that we have to set up some basics or to check whether some basics are set up before diving into the details of the problem. And most likely the problem is resolved once we have set up those basic facilities, or the problem will have changed, become much easier to solve when those basic facilities have been implemented. Okay, what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this. The first thing to have in place is to manage the project pipeline. Well, we discussed that over the past weeks several times, how to set a pipeline. We'll go through it briefly. But the purpose of the pipeline is to make sure that people have enough time to get the work done. Just a quick recap. The pipeline is about this. We have, Shai. Shai is one of our team members, and he is the team member with the highest workload. He is involved in most projects. Well, the pipeline is defined as all the projects that flow through Shai. So all the projects that involve Shai are making up the pipeline for Shai. And we will only focus on the pipeline for Shai because, well, actually, apparently there is the biggest bottleneck in our organization. So we just focus on the pipeline of Shai. That means that we ignore other pipelines. And what we're going to do is that we are going to line up the projects for Shai so that he will have enough time to get the job done. He only gets a new project when he completes something else. The situation that might happen for those people who are working on the task from the case, is that there's far too much work. Well, something like this. The work is flowing over. It's splashing out of the backlog of the action list or the to-do list for Shai. So, well, there is no other way that he needs to take more time, much more time for certain tasks to complete. So that makes sense. So, on the other hand, we also want to prevent that there is no work for Shai at all, and because then his action list runs empty and he has nothing to do. So we want to have a steady stream for Shai. Well, that is what we're going to do to create a steady stream. And the mechanism that we used is the drum, buffer, rope. The drum as a signal to start new projects, the buffer to deal with uncertainties and fluctuations, and the rope to start project ahead of time, so other people have time enough to complete the work before Shai can start. Well, so the first action to take is, in order to make sure that Shai has enough time, our engineer in our project has enough time to get the job done in time, is to line up the project for Shai. So this is something that has to be fixed on organization level. If we don't fix that for the portfolio, for the entire organization, if we just keep pushing projects in, well, there is no way that this issue will be solved. So when tasks take much more time, for example, as a specific case, when tasks take much more time, we have to make sure that people have enough time. And the only way to do that is to line up projects in a project organization like discussed. Okay, the second step to do is, now we have fixed everything on organization level, we have lined up the project, and now we go one step deeper, and that is go into the details of the project. And that is collaboration. And that's collaboration between the project manager and the project specialist, and all the project specialists. And that is to collaborate to create a plan. What is needed? What are we going to do? Just common sense, or using tools like the work breakdown structure or a PERT chart, if you like, and put it in a project plan. But the key success factor in this is Collaboration. Collaborate to create a plan, collaborate to align all the tasks, to set expectations, to overcome obstacles. So when we do that on project level, when the project manager will do that, it's his task. So it's obvious that he takes initiative for that. And when people have enough time, because the projects are lined up nicely, then there is almost no way that this problem will still occur. But there is one thing we can still do, and it's also important, and that is on the level of the employees, of the project members. And the reason is that at subtask level, so at the work that is done by the project members, that there is no clear overview, that there is no clear order, there's disorder. And you can imagine if you work on several projects and every project has several tasks, yeah, you can lose track of it. And if each of those tasks has also a number of subtasks, then it can be very confusing, and you might forget things, and you might not know exactly what should get priority. Well, the great help for that works in practice very great, is the TameFlow task board. Putting all the tasks on the task board and the subtask on the task board is a very great help to organize everything for the project members, so they can organize themselves how to do their work, in which order they want to get things done. They can focus on what is it that they have in progress right now and focus on completing those tasks. Well, we have also seen that there is possibility to label the task with certain priorities and dynamic priorities. But important is for people to maintain overview over all their activities. And when it is changing all the time, then it is great to have a task board. And you've also learned how to integrate that with your Gantt chart. So if now a task is completed, a subtask is completed, then also the project plan will be updated. Well, let's recap. So there are three things that can be done. That is on organization level, on project level, and on employee level. So now, if we go back to the initial point of the case, how to deal with project plan when the project tasks, when the project manager plans a task for, let's say, just a week, and the project members take 5 times because they have so many other things to do. And instead of just telling the project members not to multitask, we have first to fix a couple of things. First, to establish the pipeline, set up collaboration to plan and to align the work, and set up a mechanism or help like a digital task board for project members to organize their work. And when we have those 3 items in place, when we have these 3 facilities implemented, well, I can hardly imagine that this will happen on a structural basis. The task will take more time. I cannot imagine that. And if it is still the case, if it will happen, then the problem is so much different now with all those facilities, and there are much more powerful ways to solve this and to address this and to, in a joint efforts, look for solutions. And actually, this strategy implementing and validating those 3 facilities, the pipeline, the collaboration, the task board, that's a good strategy to use for every solution, because it doesn't look for the symptoms, but it really tackles the problem at the core.